Should we be seeing it? There we go.
You got it.
I got it.
Oh,
you got
yes,
it?
There we go. Hi, guys.
Should we be seeing it? All right. Oh, mute. Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to a special edition of Facebook Live here. We know we promised you Gary Bates, but Gary's been sucked up into the vortex of interviews. He's been on Eric Metaxas. We had a little feedback here. I'll turn off in a second. Come on. The engineer is struggling. Okay, now we're on there. We know we promised you Gary Bates, but he's been sucked up in a whirlwind of interviews. He's been on Eric Metaxas, Fox News Live. I can't tell you how many. His door is constantly being shut. He's going all over the place. His voice is getting fragged. I would say that we're almost overwhelmed by all this, but instead I think we should say we're overjoyed by all of this.
Yep.
That everyone in the office is pulling a lot of hard hours right now. We've got 1 week before the release of Alien Intrusion in theaters, over 700 theaters across the country. I hope you've gotten your ticket. This is Dr. Jonathan Sarfati, my good friend and colleague.
And an Australian as well, so you're at least getting one Australian on the show. Even if Gary's not here, you're getting me instead.
Oh, yeah, the substitute Aussie. Okay, that makes sense. We're going to try to answer questions, so throw the questions up on our screens, and we'll do our best. And until they come in, we're just going to free flow some thoughts here. We have a lot to talk about. Man, we were just throwing around ideas before what we might discuss, like origin of life, the Fermi paradox,
the impossibility of alien space travel. I know you probably guys have seen Star Wars and probably Star Trek, all these blockbuster movies, so now there's a chance to see some science facts instead of the science fiction.
Yes. So, give me a science fact.
Well, for instance, the amount of energy required to even go up to a third of the speed of light would be more than all the nuclear bombs in the entire world's arsenal, just to get a small craft up to that speed. Then you've got to do the same to stop it at that speed. And then you've got a problem with trying to accelerate slowly enough that they're not going to be squashed by G-forces in both starting and stopping their journey and even turning. You know what it's like when you try and lurch in a car when it's going at that speed, but going at the sort of spacecraft speed, you'd have to have such a shallow circle that it's more like the outer planet's orbit. In fact, for several times more than Neptune's orbit. That's how you could not turn inside our solar system at that speed.
So in other words, go in a straight line or die.
Pretty much.
Oh, wait a second, though. How do we know that alien technology isn't superior to ours?
Well, I mean, you've got the thing is there are laws of physics, and that's the thing. You can't get around the laws of physics. And this is even before you get into relativistic physics. This is just Newtonian physics I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's actually one of my favorite things to do when arguing creation evolution is to actually say, no, this is what we know today right now. This is reality. This is laboratory science today. This argues against another idea. And so the space-time thing... We can appeal to future technologies like warp drives and things like that, but they're not here.
And also a warp drive, okay, if you could accelerate to that speed, you've still got the problem of all the debris in space that you're colliding with at that speed. And a collision at that speed with even the grain of dust would be like a pinpoint of explosion of basically a mini atomic bomb.
So the Dune scenario when those creatures are inhaling the spice and thinking into the future so they can plot their spacecraft through the heavens is actually kind of ridiculous.
How would you get around all the dust grains in the universe, let alone asteroids? It's just dust grains, and there's so many. Space is quite dirty, unfortunately.
Yeah. Even a single hydrogen atom at relativistic speeds would incinerate your spacecraft.
Certainly a snowflake would. And you look at the way that spacecrafts look, even our ones going at about 1/10,000th of that sort of spacecrafts of alien speeds, the amount of damage of just a little grain of dust is enormous. So when you multiply the speed by 10,000, you actually square that for the amount of energy. So 100 million times more energy is involved.
Excellent. Okay, we got a question.
Good, great.
Question from Amy. Good morning. Is there evidence of aliens in Scripture?
Go ahead.
Well, my answer is no. We are the centerpiece of God's creation. Humanity has a very special place. In fact, if you look at the big picture, it appears that the entire universe was created with one specific purpose, and that is to bring about the bride of Christ. That's humanity. If there is if there are aliens out there, that raises some scriptural problems. Like, are they in sin? Are they in the universe that's cursed by the curse that got applied to the universe after Adam sinned, the human here on Earth? And if they're living in this cursed universe, do they have hope of salvation? How could they? Hey, here's one of my biggest paradoxes. Let's just, as a thought experiment, say there is an alien race out there. They're not sinful. They were created in perfection just like Adam was, and they're living in this idyllic paradise. What would happen if we met them? Well, we would pollute them. We'd destroy them because our sinful nature, we run into some perfect alien, and we're going to become Satan to some other race, which makes no sense.
And another thing is these perfect aliens would still be living in a fallen cosmos because Adam's sin had cosmic effects. You go to Romans 8, and the whole creation was cursed. So the Vulcan and Klingon home worlds were cursed. Coruscant was cursed. You get the idea. Adam's sin, according to Romans 8, affected everything, including these hypothetical alien worlds if they existed. So that's the reason why we think they couldn't exist.
So, points. Scripturally, there should not be intelligent life in outer space because of this whole redemption, restoration, fall thing. It's too muddled theologically. Second, the Bible does not talk about it, but it also kind of excludes it from the way it phrases things. And third, we've got, I don't know, all the things we just said. We've written about this.
Well, okay, then also, you see, think of the atonement. You have God, the second person of the Trinity, took on human nature, added it to his divine nature, so he could live a perfect human life and die for human sin. He didn't take on Vulcan nature to die for Spock's sin.
Yeah. Now there's possibility that okay, we're getting real theoretical, real out there, but maybe God created different worlds and has a different redemption scenario for each different world, but that's irrelevant. Because we could never connect with that other world. As far as we know, we're it. That's what the Bible indicates.
And we have dominion over the whole rest of creation too. So
yes.
How could you have more advanced aliens? Wouldn't that destroy the dominion mandate that God has given to us?
Excellent. Because our dominion clearly expands outside of the gravitational field of the Earth. Because we've sent a spacecraft past Pluto. We have spacecrafts that have now exited the solar system, and if Christ delays his return, given enough time, we're probably going to explore to another star.
I can see it happening. It would be a long time from now at current speeds, but why not?
But yeah, send something out there. Let the next generation get the pictures back. I mean, that's fine. Well, I'm actually looking forward to space exploration in the future. There's some really, really neat stuff happening right now.
But nice if we could resume the manned space program. It hasn't happened for 40 plus years, has it?
No, but we'll get back there.
We'll get back there.
We will. When I was a kid, I wanted to be the first man on Mars. That was my goal in 5th grade. But technology.
And that's why you're wearing the red shirt, is it?
Oh, yeah. Well, no, not really.
Any more questions?
Yeah, there's one here. Let's see. Joel writes, basically, how would one know what alien life is when you see it? Is it a question of how we define life? Is it bacteria living? Can bacteria be on other planets, but not higher life forms? I assume Alien Intrusion is assuming intelligent life, not just life in general.
I can't even see the question anymore. Something's wrong with our Facebook page. It seems to be deleting stuff.
I think you have to click on the...
No, it's deleting stuff. Facebook is playing silly again with things.
Well, technology, man. Technology. It just kills us, doesn't it? All right,
Yeah.
So my answer here.
Yes.
I am talking about intelligent life. I'm talking about morally culpable, morally accountable life on other planets. Scripturally should not be true, but that does not say that God did not create bacteria, grass, even cows on other planets. Now, I don't think that's true, but scripturally I can't say it's not true because it's not there. Also, though, our solar system is connected. As the Earth flies through space, we're actually leaving a trail of water vapor behind us. And meteorite impacts have the possibility of ejecting bacteria and things out of Earth's gravity well. So if we find life on Mars, you know what? It's going to be a Clostridium that came here from Earth. It's going to be a bacterial, fungal spore or something like that I mean, how's it going to live on Mars? How's it going to get there? I mean, the probability is really remote.
Yeah,
but it's not zero.
Exactly. And also I think there's a problem that bacteria wouldn't survive on a meteorite because of the burning up in the atmosphere. And that was
coming to Earth. Going back to Mars might be a little different because there's less atmosphere.
Exactly, yes.
But point is, when we say no life on other planets, we're really saying no intelligent life on other planets, because we don't know if God created life on other planets. I don't think so. But I don't know.
But then we got the Fermi paradox as well.
That's the intelligent life argument.
Yeah, where are they? Because surely we would have seen them if they're actually advanced civilizations colonizing. First one reaches space travel, colonizes a planet, and those two colonize further planets.
And then those two, geometric progression like that, you're going to get the entire universe brimming elbow to elbow with alien technologies already.
But where are they? That's the question. That's what Fermi asked. Where are these other aliens we're not seeing? We should be seeing them if they existed.
Yes, and we're not. And turning back to the alien question that we deal with in the movie, we should not be seeing or interacting with hiding aliens who are secretly abducting people and tormenting them and things like that. We should be seeing, spaceships landing on Central Park, and that is not happening. It has not happened. All of the UFO sightings, all of the alien abductions, there's nothing actually physically tangible we can put our hands on to indicate, like in the some of the Avenger movies. They're collecting the Spider-Man. They're collecting parts of spaceships and things from this big war that we had. Well, that's just science fiction.
Yes.
We don't have it. And appealing to Roswell, appealing to alien autopsy, appealing to a lot of the things that people try to suggest that are real. In a scientific setting, in a court of law, those things actually are not admissible as evidence. They're not hard proof.
Well, you think the alien would go to the White House. Why would he bother to someone who's an ordinary worker in some sort of country town? Want to go to the White House, want to go to the Kremlin.
The
go to
UN
the
at least, If they have superior technology, certainly they'd be listening to our communications. They're going to know who the boss is.
You think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Why appear at a soccer mom in her bedroom when she's 35 years old in a little country town? That doesn't make any sense.
And why not shut us down, because we're actually exposing them?
Oh, yes, that's a good one. Well, maybe they are trying to shut us down.
Oh, goodness.
But that means they're impotent, so that means that they're not here.
Which means they're not very super scientifically advanced, because they could shut us down if they were, couldn't they?
Yes, they certainly could. By the way, Dr. Sarfati and I, we love interacting like this. We tend to get a little sarcastic, so we're trying to tone it down a little bit. But, man, we could talk back and forth for hours, and it's one of our favorite things to do. So I hope you're enjoying it. Let's see if we got any more questions.
Nicholas Peterson, maybe?
If you see it, read it.
Okay, people often won't believe these physics limitations you guys just laid out on two arguments. Relativistic physics overthrew Newtonian physics, because unreal sci-fi technologies have conditioned us to accept unrealistic things. Well, I mean, I pointed out that even before you get to relativistic speeds, which is close to the speed of light, you've got problems just with Newtonian physics explaining things like G-forces and the energy requirement and the energy that a tiny dust grain would have hitting a non-relativistic craft at, say, a third of the speed of light. So forget relativity for that.
Okay, is it possible that just like Einsteinian physics trump Newtonian physics, could we trump Einsteinian physics and realize that everything else we thought about Newton and Einstein was wrong, and this other thing is true, and therefore we can have hyperspace and we can have faster than light travel and things like that?
Okay, see, Einsteinian physics didn't trump so much as extended Newtonian physics, you see, because Einsteinian physics reduces to Newtonian physics as you get away from the speed of light. All the occasions reduced to Newtonian physics. Same with quantum mechanics. As you get to higher and higher quantum numbers, that reduces to classical physics.
Boom. So, in order to appeal to some future development technology or physics or science, you would actually have to reject what we know today to be true. Instead of building on it, which science tends to do, you'd actually have to do a wholesale rejection and throw away the force of gravity, gone. The amount of energy needed to accelerate this object through space, gone. That really sounds like magic.
And you also might want to look at our article called Einstein's Heroes on the website. It's interesting. Einstein's 3 heroes included Newton, but also Faraday, Maxwell, who are all creationists, Bible-believing creationists, and these are the people Einstein had portraits on his wall as his scientific heroes.
Yeah. Actually, my heroes too. I mean,
yes.
I'm studying these people and their work and what they did. I'm consistently amazed by how people before us thought through problems and figured things out where, man, I would like to have done that, but I don't really think I'm that smart.
I'm not sure if anyone today is that smart.
Yeah, not like Newton, one of the greatest scientists in world history.
I think that's the true. A lot of scientists, non-creationist science, would agree with that too.
Yeah. So great question, Nick. Yeah, we were wrong before, but not in that way. It would be really hard to say that we were wrong about everything. It's just not quite the way it works. It's too far. It's too stretching. It's too. I mean, if that something like that. Well, maybe there's a pink unicorn standing behind me, and I just can't see it. Mm-hmm. Well, that could be true too, but that's not. It's not part of rational discourse. Right. It's not part of scientific advancement. Correct. or logical discussion.
There's a Jane Underwood question, if you'd like to take that one. Do you see that?
Let me find it. I don't see it yet. Well, I see. Will we be able to see the movie in Australia from Lausanne? Yes, but they have a different way to do it. We will post an answer to that.
Actually, I've got it. Actually,
yeah, we have it written down. Here we go.
Okay, it's an Indooroopilly Cinema. That's in Queensland, and that's on the 12th of February, 7 p.m. So I'll put that the details there for the Australian fans. So it's just one day after the American showing, which is on the 11th. Australia will be on the Friday, the 12th.
Yeah, we have to have a different distribution system in different countries. We picked Fathom Media, by the way. Fathommedia.com. Type in Alien Intrusion. You can buy your tickets through there. Type in your zip code. Type in the name of your town. It will find the closest location to you. I just did it yesterday. It's easy to do. Fathom Events. Yeah, not Fathom Media. Fathom Events. FathomEvents.com. We had to have a different way of doing it in different countries. So Europe's different than America, which is different than Canada, which is different than Australia. That's just because of the way things are. So you have to look up different ways of doing it depending on where you live. But this is mostly an American audience right now. You Australians should be asleep. I mean, it's probably really late. Maybe not. It's evening.
Well, not for me, it wouldn't be. It's about 20 past 1 in the morning.
Oh, yeah, you're a night owl, man.
For me, it's fine. Well, chess masters are all night owls, so...
Oh, that's why I'm not a chess master.
That must be it,
yeah. You're it's really funny. I share an office with Jonathan. I get here several hours before he does, and he stays several hours after I leave, just because our clocks are very different. Anyway, a little bit of things. Now, I didn't see that question that you asked, because things are flipping by me pretty quick here.
Well, actually, you might say it's an assertion. You might say, and I'll read it. It says, they are demons. Born-again Christians don't get the alien visits that others do. Aliens talk of a worldwide leader coming, but don't glorify Christ or even mention him.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's something we do discuss in the movie. Is a major part of the movie is the small minority of alien things which can't be explained by natural or man-made means, where you have to say, well, what else is going on there? And they are not benevolent creatures. Whatever they are, they're not benevolent. And you're right, they don't glorify Christ. I mean, why come millions of light years to tell us that Jesus Christ is just one way to God? It makes no sense, does it?
No, while tormenting people in the most barbaric way as possible. That makes no sense from a superior alien technology standpoint. It makes lots of sense scripturally from a spiritual warfare standpoint, but you have to watch the movie to fill in those blanks. Amy asks, will we be able to see it at Arbor Place Mall in Douglasville, Georgia? And my answer is absolutely, and I'll be there at 6 o'clock in the food court before the premiere, and I'm going to probably walk in the theater about 20 minutes till, because we have some previews that we made, actually, that we get to show. And then afterwards, I'll be outside until the security guards kick us out. And the mall will probably close afterwards. They might let us be there for 10 or 15 minutes.
And I will be in the Hiram movie theater show. We're doing the same thing. And you'll see us with our lanyards.
Yes,
if you can't recognize us, of course.
There'll also be some of us at Kennesaw on Barrett Parkway, and then, but that's just because we're local. But I know that there's several creation groups around the country that are having special events, inviting their people to. So if you see a bunch of groupies hanging around, just start asking them questions, and it'll pretty much be quick to identify who they are and maybe answer some more questions that you have. Anyway,
there's a question from a Paul Price about abiogenesis, or chemical evolution, which is life coming from non-living chemicals. But the point is, I mean, you could, if you do the calculations, you could have the whole universe filled, every atom turned into a chemical evolution lab, and grant the Big Bang timescale, the probability is still too minute to explain life from non-living chemicals. It's actually not a question of it's only limited to Earth. It's a question that's limited by chemistry in general. And
physics and probability, and
You go to our webpage, creation.com/origin, you'll see plenty of reasons why life could not evolve from non-living chemicals. On my field is chemistry. The chemistry goes in the wrong direction in so many different respects. So it doesn't matter what planet you're talking about. Chemistry is against you regardless.
That's an interesting question, though, because what this boils down to is, maybe something is true that we don't know yet. Well, that's not good science. You can't appeal to an unknown to answer a problem when everything we know now, right here today in the laboratory, right here on Earth, is arguing that origin of life is not going to happen.
Yeah, so this is not a God of the gaps argument. This is actually an argument from what we do know with well-attested laws of chemistry that I've seen in my lab myself.
Yeah, actually, it's a Darwin of the gaps argument.
Pretty much, yes.
It's this might be true, therefore I can appeal to it. No, you can't. It's not a rational position to appeal to something you cannot know, and everything you do know is arguing against that position. Origin of life is kaput. It doesn't work. I mean, as a biologist, as a geneticist, you want to talk about origin of life? Yeah, let's talk about it. And I don't think you're going to win that argument. You want to talk to the chemist about the origin of life? I think you're going to go down in flames. There's nothing there.
It's interesting how a lot of evolutionists don't even want to talk about the origin of life. They pretend it's not part of evolution, even though for decades it's been called chemical evolution. And they need to have chemical evolution to get your first self-reproducing cells, so Darwinian evolution and natural selection can happen. So atheists need to explain chemical evolution, but they haven't got a chance.
Yeah, Darwin himself tried to avoid the argument. He said, origin of life, you might as well speculate about the origin of matter. Well, yeah, it's called Big Bang. People today absolutely speculate about the origin of matter, and we use the word evolution a lot to really mean naturalism, which is this whole big ball of wax that goes from the Big Bang until today and everything in between. And if the evolutionists can't explain the origin of life using physics, probability, chemistry, that's a huge problem. That's an unbelievably huge problem. So what they try to do is say, oh no, evolution is just the changes in life. It's not about the origin of life itself. But that's an evasive argument, and it's actually duplicitous.
But yet, a lot of the science fiction these days presupposes that life came from non-living chemicals on Earth, so why not on all the other planets that must be out there? But they assume, without proving, that life did begin from non-living chemicals.
Yes.
No evidence is asked for or given.
Well, actually, even more than that. Let's say that life did evolve here on Earth.
Yep.
Let's just say that it did, just for sake of argument for a second. But we have to grant the fact that the probability of it evolving is essentially zero. I mean, it's so incredibly remote that it's almost impossible. If that's true, what if we are the only place where life evolved? Since it's so incredibly remotely possible, what if we're first? What if we're it? What if this is the starting point and we're the people who are going to spread out across the universe? Well, that kind of deflates the alien idea.
Well, it's interesting how Richard Dawkins himself, in his book The Greatest Show on Earth, tried to use this as an argument in his favor. Well, life is so improbable, we wouldn't expect to find it anywhere else.
Oh, yes.
But it's clearly evolved on Earth because we're here, aren't we?
Yes. No, yeah, Richard Dawkins is not my hero, of course. Okay, wait, I got one from Ray. Wait a minute, I've read Asimov. Are you saying that traveling across the universe won't work?
That's what we said at the start of the program, and I think Asimov knew it, but I don't think Asimov actually explained the problems with trying to get enough energy even to go at sub-light speeds, like 1/3 of the speed of light. They mostly don't even take this into account.
Yeah.
They might talk about inertial dampers on Star Trek, but what are they exactly?
Yeah, exactly. It's more magic science fiction. It's something I've realized recently. Studying subatomic physics and particle physics and particle accelerators and the development of the atomic weapons program, I realized that the reason the super collider in Switzerland is so big is because they're taking particles and accelerating them to relativistic speeds.
Yes, definitely, yep.
And they got these giant magnets.
Yeah.
Those magnets are that big because they have to bend this charged particle traveling at some super velocity. Well, the mass increases when you get to that velocity.
Yep.
And there's a limit to how strong you can make a magnet today. So they have the biggest, strongest magnets possible.
Yeah.
In order to make a particle fly around that ring, the ring's got to be
miles in diameter. Right.
Because of the forces involved in accelerating little subatomic particles.
Yes.
And that's just a little subatomic particle, and how much energy it takes to make it bend like that. How are you going to build a spaceship that launches people at those speeds? And not forget about killing the person inside, just the mass of the person.
Yeah.
The science today is arguing strongly against the idea that we can travel at those speeds.
Right. And as I said, even at non-relativistic speeds, like 1/3 of the speed of light, multiply that argument for sort of normal-sized things as opposed to subatomic particles. You just can't bend us that quickly without ruining everything. Subatomic particles, you can't. They're incompressible. But anything composed of them can be compressed, and that's what the big problem.
Yeah, big problem, because we would get squished.
That would be nasty.
Get a lot of good comments. I appreciate your support, everyone chiming in, saying how you've read our articles and things like that. I really appreciate that. We're here for you. This is why we're doing this, to try to give you answers to help address the culture, because we got to be involved in the culture. And the culture right now is alien crazy. So let's develop some ideas and thoughts that we can use to talk to the people on the street, your mother-in-law, your brother-in-law, the crazy uncle who needs to hear some biblical answers to the things people are using to reject the Bible. Here's another one. Can you comment on the Nephilim and the sons of God coming into the daughters of men and having children with them? Could this still happen today? You want to handle it?
Oh, you could always read my Genesis commentary called the Genesis account, where I have a big section on the Nephilim, the sons of God, and what they were. But the answer is no, they couldn't, because if you take the angels' interpretation, which I do and which Gary Bates does, I think most of us here do, those people were punished. The Nephilim were destroyed in the flood. There haven't been any post-flood Nephilim, and the angels involved were locked into Tartarus in chains. That's what 2 Peter and Jude say. These angels are now locked up. They can't do it again. Okay, Nephilim in numbers, you may say, well, what about them? Well, no, that was a lying, false report by the Israelite spies. When Joshua actually conquered the land,
40 years later, where are they? They weren't there. You can also find information in the book Alien Intrusion. There's an excellent section in there. You can also look up on creation.com. I believe if you go to creation.com, type in Nephilim, a little secret here, that section of the book will pop up as a PDF, and you can read it. That's one of the, actually, it is the best summary of the subject I've ever read. Deals with all the various viewpoints historically, the Reformers, pre-Reformation. There's like 4 major viewpoints. Who are they? What are they? And I really enjoyed that summary. I learned a lot from that section of the book. So I encourage your listeners, go to creation.com, just Google Nephilim. I believe you'll find the answer. Great question. Man, we could talk about that one for a long time, but maybe we shouldn't, because we could go in circles and go really down the rabbit hole.
Oh, yes.
Oh, boy.
It's one of the hardest parts of the Bible to understand, that one, probably.
Like the rabbit hole. I was in Colorado at a big church meeting, and this woman came up to me afterwards, and she was talking about the secret government laboratory where they were doing alien-human hybridization genetics experiments.
Okay.
And I said, ma'am, I'm a geneticist. I had my laptop with me. I said, I've got the human genome right here on my laptop. Would you please point to me the parts in the human genome that are alien? And, oh, man, she turned purple. She got mad at me.
Oh, wow.
Of course, it was kind of an unfair question because she's not a geneticist, but still, I mean, like, I've got the data. Let's go. And then I said, all right, I don't agree with you. I walk away. And she starts following me, yelling at me, saying, oh, sure, walk away, run away, be afraid. And so I walked into a group of people, and I said, please save me.
But I mean, yeah, how would you?
Strength, and the lady kept
crazy.
walking
I mean,
away.
how would you show this is an alien DNA unless we've got aliens to give me a control sample?
Exactly. And why would aliens have DNA?
And all, yeah, especially not the same genetic code as life on Earth does. Certainly, they haven't evolved a different genetic code from us.
Yeah, and if it's in people, you know what? We would call that human DNA. So what can we do?
By definition, almost, wouldn't we?
Yes. All right, let's see what... Oh, boy. Yeah, someone posted a picture of the dead cat that they found in India.
Oh, my.
People saying it's a dinosaur. No, it's a dead animal.
Yes.
It could be a mongoose or a weasel. I think it looks more like a cat. No, it's not a dead, decaying dinosaur. It's found in a building that hadn't been opened in a couple of decades.
Yes.
It's a human building that we built recently, and an animal got in there and died. End of story. There's not a dinosaur. No way, period. All right. But it's kind of fun because it's been floating around the internet for a couple of weeks, and I've actually got this question several times, people writing in.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. All right. Josiah writes, do you think there's a deception in taking people away from belief in a real heaven and hell with this deception? I imagine it's that like that with ghosts, for example. The answer is yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, this is a great deception. And a great way to take the focus off of God is to put the focus on aliens.
And that's the thing. Why would an alien bother with an Earth religion to try to tell us that this one is wrong, but the New Age ideas are right? It makes sense if these are actually demonic creatures who are actually opposed to Jesus, but it makes no sense if they're aliens from Alpha Centauri or further away. Why would they bother?
Exactly. All right. Josiah writes in, do you think that this is along the same lines as fairies, ghosts, etc.? Their deceptions is the core of these lies to take people away from believing in heaven and hell. I think we just answered that.
I think so.
But the fairies and ghosts thing, that's really interesting. Because something I've learned about this discussion is that the stories we have of aliens today are the same stories we had about fairies in the past, just with a different name and a different social context. It's the same old story of people being abducted, people being brutalized, having their minds messed with. This is really ugly stuff.
Well, it's interesting how these the stories are adapted to the cultural beliefs of the time, aren't they? People believed in fairies, so let's pretend to be a fairy. Then the Martian stuff was all the craze. They pretend to be Martians. Now we know there's no other life. There's no life on Mars, so let's pretend to be something from another solar system.
The Zeta Reticuli or whatever. Someone on our Alien Intrusion Facebook page named a particular. These people are from blank, and it's hard to pronounce the name of that place. But I mean, come on, this is not. There are so many people who believe so many different things.
Right.
So you have to actually line everything up, look at all the similarities in what they believe, and you realize, okay, that name's not true. This name is not true. But when it all boils down to the alien abduction, the alien interaction phenomenon that people are claiming. Wait, what are the salient points? They're mean.
They're definitely mean, yeah.
They're invisible,
yeah,
which means they're not physical.
And Jesus is not the only way to God.
And they decry the deity of Jesus Christ. Why would a mean thing care about the deity of Jesus Christ? If he's our alien brother flying across the universe, defying all the known laws of physics, to secretly hide here and secretly abduct people and brutalize them in the most barbaric ways possible, that is not the alien story. That is the spiritual warfare story.
Yes, are they trying to actually make themselves known to us or hide from us? Which is it? You can't have it both ways, I think.
Yeah, you can't. And oh man, the stories we hear of people that had interacted with these things over years, usually in childhood, starting in childhood, usually in their bedroom at night.
Yeah,
it's really sad. People are hurting.
Yeah.
And so this movie should be a good way to replace bad theological arguments with better theological arguments.
And it means if a lot of these people just didn't know who to turn to either, you see, that's a sad thing because it's such a horrifying and unusual experiment. Where could they turn? Not even to their own church fellowship, and that's a sad thing. But now we can show where they can turn to.
And well, to be fair though, most pastors aren't equipped to deal with this. I mean, I didn't even know about this until maybe 10 years ago. When I first heard about it, I said literally, oh no, a creationist has written a book about aliens. And then I found out he worked for CMI. I said, oh no, he's one of my colleagues. Then I found out he's coming to America to become the head of my office. I said, oh no. But by that point, I had read his book, and I had watched some of his videos. And I said, oh, this is not what I thought it was. It's not kooky, crazy, out there stuff. It's actually a biblical argument and an attempt to answer this phenomenon biblically. And the only answer that I can possibly see biblically is that this is spiritual in nature, not alien in nature.
Well, actually, on the front page of our website, creation.com, in fact, the front page article is about pastors saying how important this movie is, because now pastors will be equipped to deal with it. As you say, they weren't equipped before, now they can be. So you've got some very top pastors who have actually seen the movie and are telling you, yeah, this is important stuff.
Yeah, we've been really pleased. We sent a link to this movie to a whole bunch of different people to get their feedback. And a lot of pastors specifically, because we're trying to reach Christians, we're trying to reach non-Christians also, but we don't want this to be a big flop in the Christian community. And man, the things that they've said in return have been amazing. And that article summarizes some of that. Again, this is Alien Intrusion, Thursday, January the 11th, 7 p.m., I believe, in most theaters. I haven't seen that. It wasn't 7 p.m., but check your local theater. Go to fathomevents.com, type in your zip code or the name of your town, and it'll make a list below there of the closest movie theater to you. So I've had a couple of times it didn't quite work right. Try a different browser or try a different zip code, a neighboring zip code to the one you entered. It will work, and you will come up with the closest theater to you. Well, we're expecting a huge turnout. Ticket sales have been phenomenal, especially now that the holidays are over. Ticket sales are starting to ramp up just like we had hoped. This was a huge undertaking for us. This is our third movie that we've made, but this is the first theater release movie that we've made. It was a big risk. Not just the amount of time it took us to make this, because it absorbed the lives of several people here for more than a year, but the amount of money it takes to put something into 700 theaters is a lot of money. So we're trusting that the Lord is going to increase us, and that He's going to bring the people out to watch it. And it's really nice to see our ticket sales kicking in here. We think we're going to make it. But we're depending upon you to get out there, get to the theater, bring your friends. If your friends don't want to go, then come anyway.
Yes, definitely come yourself.
Yeah, don't let your friends poo-pooing this dampen your enthusiasm.
Yes, and if you come yourself, then you're better equipped to talk to the friends who wouldn't come.
That's right, absolutely.
So come yourself.
Absolutely. But we're seeing a lot of alien enthusiasts that are going that aren't Christians. We already know that. We're seeing a lot of people who are just kind of in the fringe, like, hey, I believe in all this other stuff, but this is a new idea, so I'm going to come and watch it just because it's a new idea. This really has a lot of crossover potential. It's not just for the Christian community, and it's a gospel issue. We are attempting to share the gospel with people using a very popular social trend as a platform to share that, and that's what this is about. It's not just trying to denigrate evolution or destroy kooky ideas about Zeta Reticuli. We're actually trying to talk about Jesus Christ to people who need to hear Him. Anyway, do we have any more questions? Those are some good ones so far.
I like it.
Let's see. Oh, by the way, you really do need to see it in the theater. Not only does it benefit us with the numbers, but it's going to be a long time before it's released on DVD. And I'm not sure when or if it'll appear on Netflix or Amazon. It all depends. I don't think it will. Digital downloads from our site will be in the distant future. This is not something that a lot of people are like, oh, why don't you just release it for free? And that's not the way the world works. It took a lot of money, and our supporters donated a tremendous amount of money to produce this movie, and we would really like to try to break even, if not make us so-called profit,
and the profit
if possible.
is used to spread our ministry.
The profit just goes right back into promoting Creation Ministries International. It's not we are not making personally anything on this movie. It's a labor of love. I'm looking at the people walking in and out of the sound booth. All these people are involved in this. We're working really hard on this. We're really excited to see it going. And now we've gone for nearly 40 minutes, which was our goal.
Yep.
And if there's any other questions, we'll answer them. I don't see any except like that, hey, we love you guys and we appreciate all those.
Well, thank you for that.
Okay, but the engineer has walked out and he can't push a stop button. So we're going to keep on talking till he comes back.
Right.
All right. So how about, okay, Peanut Gallery. What have we not talked about yet? Jonathan, what have we not talked about yet?
Experiences that people have.
Oh, the experiences.
Well, and that's why I think we've been saying that these experiences are actually very horrifying, very frightening, and as I say, they had no one to talk to about it because the knowledge just wasn't there to help them. And I think there's too many people would be dismissive of these genuine experiences, but experiences of what? And actually, what's in the movie? What actually stopped these experiences from happening? Is a very important thing. We've got these experiences, but how do you stop them happening?
If you are what is called an experiencer, if you have interacted with alien beings, you think, or spiritual beings, just know that we are not going to insult you. We're not going to call you crazy. You might be crazy, but we're not going to call you crazy. I mean, this is a difficult subject. It's a sensitive subject. It's something that we need to handle very carefully. Most people aren't equipped because you need some training here. But just come and see this movie. Maybe they'll be a little triggering, but we work on this. We bring you through the subject carefully, going from step 1 to step 2 to step 3. It all leads to a gospel answer to the problems that you might be experiencing. If you're not a Christian, I really want to encourage you to come see this. It's going to be a new way of looking at Christianity you probably have never seen before. And again, if you are an experiencer or know an experiencer, please come. We're gonna give you some answers that you probably didn't have before. I have seen people come up to Gary and say, "Oh, Mr. Bates, explain this to me," and he already knew what they were going to say because the story's always the same. The story is always the same. Therefore, there's some substance to this. There's something happening. What is happening? Come and watch the movie and find out.
Oh yes, you've got a question from Nicholas Peterson about the C.S. Lewis science fiction trilogy.
Oh, the Paralander stuff.
That's the one. Yeah, I must admit, I'm not familiar with it. I'm not sure if you are you?
Oh yeah, I've read them.
Yeah,
they were okay.
Not too bad. But I think wasn't one of the things that he said was about the incarnation as a unique thing for Earth, right?
Oh boy,
Yeah,
I read them when I was a teenager.
Right. Yes.
So you want details? I'm not going to remember.
I have to look in Google, but I think that's what one thing Lewis recognises, there is a uniqueness to the incarnation. Well, he was a Christian apologist, of course,
Yes,
so
of course.
he would say that. Which I think that is a problem for Christians with science fiction. What do you do with the incarnation? Because it only happened once.
Yes.
Jesus
Now,
died for our sins, rose from the dead. He sits at the right hand of God the Father to be our advocate with him. But he didn't go to Vulcan or Klingon home worlds to do the same thing.
Or even Venus.
Even Venus, no.
Now, for those of you who don't know that word, you might not be familiar with the theology. The incarnation is talking about Jesus Christ becoming a man to live on this earth for a while, that eventually led to his death and crucifixion, and that punishment was, in God's eyes, sufficient to offer us forgiveness. There's a whole lot of theology in that word incarnation.
Because he became our kinsman redeemer. He's related to us by blood.
Yeah, not related to Martians.
Very key point.
Yeah, related to humanity. He became a human being, etc. But we talked about life on other planets earlier and the theological difficulties with that earlier. So you rewind if you want to hear that again, or just go to our website, type in life on other planets in the search engine. There's all sorts of cool stuff there. Okay, I think we're pretty much wrapping up now. That was a good 45 minutes. We really appreciate your support. One more time, go to... the engineer has held up a sign. If you would like to have a CMI speaker at your church, just click on our website, creation.com. It's pretty easy to see the events button. We will speak at, I forget, the number keeps changing, but it's over 300. It's much more than that.
I'll type the link for you.
Okay, we'll put it in the feed here. We will speak at hundreds of churches in the U.S. this year, well over 1,000, probably 12 or 1,300 churches around the world this year in one of our 7 international offices. It's not just Jonathan and myself. Here in the U.S., we have 5 or 6 speakers. We've probably got 25 to 30 around the world. We're really busy. We are here to serve you. Our goal is to go to local churches and talk to people sitting there and try to answer their questions about the Bible, about creation, about science, not just to be nerdy, but in order to encourage them that their faith is real. This is why we exist, and we'll come to your church. It's easy to do.
We don't charge a set speaking fee, and in fact, that's where we find our most important part of our ministry is going to churches, because so many people in churches don't realize it's a real issue until their kids learn evolution in high school and decide the Bible can't be trusted, and once they leave home, they leave the church as well. And you should see our little DVD called Fallout, very short video Fallout, and those who are still continuing in churches are those who got sound creation teaching in their church.
Absolutely. Man, it's clear. I know for myself, I was really wrestling with my faith. Let's see. So please remember to book your tickets. If you do it earlier, it actually benefits us. Just to help us track things. It's good feedback for us. Stay tuned for more live stream events in the future. We're going to have more, especially this next week. We're going to be really, really busy. If you like this, please share this. The more publicity we get, the better we are, the better our Facebook rankings are, the better our Google rankings are, the more people will come to see the movie, and it all spirals into this gigantic big ball of wax called Alien Intrusion.
And there's a chance we might be able to show it on a separate, an additional night. If we get the theatres crowded enough,
right.
They may have to show it on another night. So
encore presentations.
Yes,
absolutely.
It happened with the movie Is Genesis History. They had to show other nights. That's how popular it was.
That's
and
right.
Dr. Carter was on that, so that's why it was good, probably.
Well, maybe. But anyway, again, this is our 3rd major movie, our first one in theaters. We really hope you'll come out and support us January the 11th. 7 p.m. fathomevents.com.